So good morning or good evening again. Thank you all for joining us for today's event. I am Theo Papaioannou, Studying Greece Executive Director, and I would like to introduce to you my colleague, Diana Jones, Assistant Director for Academic Affairs and International Partnerships at Studying Greece. Hi, Diana.
Hello, very nice to meet all of you.
Who will co-host today's event together with me. It's a great pleasure to welcome you all and host this event titled Identifying Resources to Boost Academic Collaborations, the first of this Pharos virtual dialogue series, a framework that has been put together by Studying Greece and its key partners, providing a support mechanism to advance and increase the number of sustainable partnerships between US and Greek higher education institutions. And at this point, I'd like to extend a special thank you to our colleagues and friends from the Institute of International Education, Claire, Sylvia, Corey. Many thanks for this great cooperation. And of course, I, on behalf of Studying Greece, would like to express my gratitude to the Executive Director of Fulbright Greece, Ms. Artemis Zenetou, for her significant contribution and dedication to the International Academic Partnership Program Greece. Thank you, Artemis. I have to add here that Ms. Zenetou is going to coordinate the virtual discussion in the second part of the event after the 4 presentations. To better organize our Q&A and virtual discussion, please submit your question in the chat box and direct your questions to the presenter you want to ask. So, as reflected in its title, today's discussion is placing a particular focus on mechanisms, tools, sources, and resources available or used by American and Greek institutions to develop and advance their partnerships. We hope that this event will provide a bespoke platform to explore, share, and exchange ideas and insights, best practices, and successes in the framework of the Greek-US academic collaboration. Without further delay, I would like to invite the President of Studying Greece, Professor Christos Michalakelis, to address his remarks. Dear Captain, please.
Dear esteemed participants, actually I would say dear friends so far. I'm very happy to welcome you today to the first of a series of thematic virtual discussions focusing on enhancing the bridges between the 2 academic communities. This particular discussion, identifying resources to boost academic collaboration, places particular focus on funding mechanisms to support the fusion of collaboration, especially in the context of the Hellenic academic cooperation. Studying Greece, together with IIA and Fulbright, who we warmly thank, are happy to host these thematic virtual discussions and welcome the members of both academic communities to join and actively participate into them. The close future that lies ahead is very promising. Once more, thank you for being here today and for your collaboration. And we look forward to welcome you again to the next ones. So it was very short, just to give floor to the actual discussion.
Many thanks, Christos. Thank you.
Thank you, Theo.
Our next speaker is the keynote speaker of today's event. He's a world-renowned consultant on global learning and engagement in higher education. She has particular expertise concerning international partnerships, global learning, strategic institutional development, and the nature of institutional global citizenship, both in the US and abroad. She has also advised over 40 US colleges and universities on their internationalization efforts. President of the Association of International Education Administrators, Chair of NAFSA's International Education Leadership. Today, we are graciously honored to have Dr. Susan Bach-Saddon with us. Dear Susan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I will share my screen. Okay, can Can you see my screen now?
Yes,
Yes.
perfectly.
Yes, okay. Well, I'm really happy to be speaking, and thanks for the kind introduction, Theo. I should add that also am a cultural anthropologist of modern Greece and have been working there since 1973, before some of you were born. So this brings together my two great passions, Greece and international education. I'm just going to kick off our discussion today with a few insights on resources and funding mechanisms for international partnerships, whether they're between the US and Greece or any countries outside of the Erasmus consortium, which of course has its own way of handling these issues. But just a few insights that come from a lifetime in this field. And the first is actually saying that as we think about what is needed to get partnerships going or to enhance existing partnerships, sometimes it can seem overwhelming to an institution to think, how on earth are we going to fund this? And I think my answer is step back, think a little bit. Funding is part of it, but there's more to supporting a partnership than funding. And also, you may already have some of the resources you need. You need to look within as well as look at grants, but you need to look within the institution first and start with this maxim that you might share with administrators. And it's in the box on the lower left here. International partnerships can be cost effective, but they are not zero cost. What do I mean? Cost effective. Well, there's a definition over on one side here. Cost effective means achieving a desired objective at a relatively low cost. So your costs are relatively low. The value that your institution gets is relatively high. So that's what being cost effective means. And indeed, international partnerships are very cost effective. And I'll say a little bit more about that in a second. But they're not zero cost. They do require time, staffing, support of financial and other kinds of tangible support. They also require dialogue, relationship building, planning, testing, reworking over time, and institutional commitment to support them, that this is a good thing for the institution. All of that are the resources that you need to make partnerships work. A lot of that you already have in place at your institutions, or you can begin to tap it and identify it and tap it, the resources you have. I'll get to grants at the end of this, but waiting for a very high-end grant to fall into your laps is not necessarily the best strategy. There's a lot you can be doing before you get those high-end grants, and that will ensure you get those high-end grants ultimately. Now, let me move forward. So, developing a sustainable partnership means engaging your own institution in supporting it. As I have been saying, think beyond grants. So that means inventorying, taking stock of the partnership support resources you already have, and then tapping into them. It means articulating, voicing, writing about, promulgating the value of what the partnership you're interested in brings to the institution. You need to make clear what its value is so that those resources that your institution have can be turned toward it. And then three, it means demonstrating that the partnership is a efficient or cost effective conception, is cost efficient. It doesn't take that much cost. It's conceptually superior, and in some cases, the only way that the institution can achieve some of the value that it offers. That last one requires some elaboration. When I say conceptually superior, I mean that if we believe, as I do, that cutting edge research or student learning these days must involve multiple voices and perspectives, must be globally or produced through dialogue across nations, then partnerships are going to be one of conceptually superior way of doing that, of getting those multiple perspectives together to conduct research or to teach students, etc. And in some ways, in cases of certain kinds of value that you want. You're only going to be able to do it through partnership. So for example, as it says in the box on the bottom of this slide, let's say your institution, as many US colleges and universities now are, have a statement. Your institution is committed to preparing students for life in an interconnected world. Well, how are you going to do that? Partnerships, international partnerships, can provide a robust, multifaceted, authentic way of giving students the interactions and experiences that do this. I am an anthropologist. We had our hands slapped justifiably a few decades ago for writing about other people, but not writing with other people. And indeed, partnerships are the best, the only authentic way, really, to get voices from around the world into your classrooms. This cannot be replicated at your institution alone with your existing faculty alone. Now, you could ask your institution to hire 100 international faculty, but partnerships are a much more cost-effective way of doing this. And it creates that dialogue that we need, increasingly recognize, and partnerships allow that dialogue to deepen over time. It's not just the first time you meet, it's at year after year that the dialogue becomes deeper and more meaningful for everybody. So that's what how partnerships provide some value that is worth paying for in one way or another. So how do we pay for it? Funding partnerships, a holistic, a comprehensive institutional approach. You have to think about this across your whole institution. Here are a whole list of possibilities of where you might want to see if there can't be some resources that can be directed toward a particular partnership that you're working on. And we're going to see when we get to the case studies that we're going to hear about in a few minutes, examples of many of these points that are on this slide being put into action between US and Greek institutions. You can start small and build up over time. Make use of existing internal grants that your institution may have. These might be called seed grants, curriculum development grants, travel grants, attending conference grants, small bits of money that could be used to bring people back and forth or start an initiative going. Look for where your higher education institution, HEI, has concentrations of staff and resources already, and engage those units in the partnership work. Convince your institution that some baseline funding, staffing, and IT support for partnerships will bring a good return on investment, ROI. There's a lot of convincing people of what this really can produce. Work with your development, as we say in the US, our development office. That means our fundraising office. See if they can't go out and get some donors to support the partnership, or do something like I did when I was for many years. I've been at two institutions as a professor and a chief international officer in Indiana University. I see there's somebody on the line from Indiana. Hi. And Bryn Mawr College. But in any event, as I did in Indiana, take some of what are called the indirect costs from external international grants that your institution gets and dedicate them to new partnership development. So you have a pool of money that you can direct toward new partnerships. Split costs across various units and departments within your university. I used to say I depended on the kindness of deans. I would go to the dean of medicine and to the dean of law and to the dean of liberal arts, and each would contribute something to a particular partnership I was working on. Support your faculty by giving them release time from teaching. That's a funding mechanism that enables them to devote time to the partnership. Find some dedicated housing you can set aside for visiting faculty and students from your partner. Maybe connect to local businesses and organizations that might be interested in the nation that your partner is in. Creatively balance exchanges. I'll talk about that again in a second. Establish gateways such as Colombia has done, and I think we'll hear about that in Greece. Participate in networks or consortia. You can share the costs across a range of institutions. and recognize what international business folks understand, that transaction costs for the partnership will actually go down over time. The more you know your partnership, the more you are used to working with your partner, the less time you have to put into that. So your transaction costs are actually going to go down. There's usually a burst of funding or resources needed to get a partnership started, and then the costs come down over time. Here we go. Also, look for what are cost efficiencies, not effectiveness, but efficiencies. That is, how can you do anything you're interested in a lower cost way? That is, for example, changing from incandescent light bulbs to LED light bulbs. For example, if you want to engage more students in global experiences, as I said, you could calculate exchanges with your partner in new ways. You might say, we'll take a couple of your students, or two, three of your students for a full year, if you will host a group of 15 of our students for a short-term experience, faculty-led experience. That's a balance where the costs, each side funds its own activities, but they're getting a real exchange out of it. Sandwich programs where you send students abroad in the middle of a course that is otherwise on, it begins and ends at the host institution. Embracing, I'm going to skip a couple of points here for the sake of time, embracing COIL or virtual exchange, that is collaborative online international learning with partners for regular on-campus courses that you share with your partners. I can't stress this one enough. This is the most cost-efficient mechanism that has entered the world of international education in a long, long time. It is a way that you can do things that used to require a great deal of travel, but you can do them without the travel. Now, I know that COIL and virtual exchange have come in for some criticism on, but are they the same quality as the travel? Well, I think that depends on how you structure them, and that they can be. Sometimes they are not, but they can be. And they also do something that travel has, they solve a problem that travel has not solved. And that is, you can get international interactions or co-teaching or internationally collaborative research. You can spread that to more students and faculty than you would ever have been able to do if you depended only on face-to-face travel. It's really, for US partners, it's a way of addressing our diversity, equity, and inclusion needs that we're all very acutely aware of in a very positive way if you structure them properly. And we're learning increasingly how to do that. So you can, if you're interested in getting students engaged with partners, you can connect the programs that connect the students to partners with your curricular requirements. Build them into the major requirements for a particular major, or in the US, our general education requirements. You can hold joint conferences for faculty and students, both virtual and face-to-face. Develop joint or dual degree programs, micro-credentials. That's a more complex undertaking, but that certainly is a cost-effective way of getting multiple voices and perspectives and research backgrounds together for a particular program. And the final bullet, finding ways to reduce tuition costs for one side when there's a significant tuition differential. This is a factor for Greek and US partnerships. There is a significant tuition differential, but there are ways to reduce the US side of that for students. Of course, exchanges that are one-to-one, that washes out the tuition right there. But there are other ways that the incoming students can have some on-campus activities that cause their tuition to be lowered. There's simply ways that we're learning how to do that, and that's probably going to be important for the Greek-US student back and forth student mobility. Now, I don't turn down grants. In fact, when I was working at Indiana or Bryn Mawr, I went for every possible grant that could support anything that I was interested in doing. I always applied for grants. I think they're really important. And and we'll hear some about some other possibilities later in this webinar. But for the US side, in addition to what comes through Fulbright and other very important programs like that, as you see here, there are many sources of of funding for international partnership work. And I've just listed the major ones here. There are many, many others. And all of these organizations, agencies, societies, endowments that I have listed here have been known to support international partnerships and indeed to support them between US and Greek institutions. I have had grants from each and every one of these for work in Greece. So this is all, but you'll stand a much better chance of getting these grants if you've done the groundwork on forming the partnership. If you can say, this is a real partnership, this will be sustainable, we're already doing things together, we understand each other, we know how to make it work, and then go in for the grants. So those are my general remarks. I'd be happy to take questions at the end of this webinar, but right now I think we should move to some case studies that illustrate some of these points that I've been making. Theo, I throw it back to you to introduce.
Great, great. Thank you very much, Susan, for this multifaceted presentation with a range of recommendations and useful insights. It's a real privilege to collaborate with you. Hands over to Ms. Jones now for the presentations. Diana. Diana, are you with us?
Yes, sorry, I just unmuted my microphone. Thank you very much to Dr. Susan Sutton from IIE for her valuable insights, and they set the stage beautifully for the following presentations. And we're going to hear from representatives presenting university from both sides. Now, please join me in welcoming our first presenter, Professor Manos Varvarigos, the Vice Rector for Research, Innovation, Extroversion, and International Relations from the National Technical University of Athens. Through case studies, he will bring us to the heart of their international collaboration, delving into various aspects from accreditation to funding. Please give him a warm welcome.
Thank you very much. I don't know if you can see my screen. I hope you do.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks first of all for the presentation in this workshop. So I'm the Vice Director for Research, Innovation, Outreach, International Affairs at the National Technical University of Athens. Actually, I got this title 1 month ago, so I'm still in the process of learning what we are doing at the National Technical University of Athens, and also trying to come up with plans about what are the best steps to do in the future. So for those who are not from Greece, let me say a few things about the National Technical University of Athens. I think that it's an engineering school. It has almost always a very strong research profile. So, for example, if you count the research funding that the NTUA gets from the EU, we're number 20, I think, or maybe a little bit better in Europe. And also, we have a big diaspora, I would say. A lot of our alumni are in US universities, are working there as a lot of them as in academic positions. And also, a lot of our professors have come from the US. So this is to say that I think that the National Technical University of Athens has a natural networking advantage, I would say, in the US. And the result of this is that we have come up, as you see in this slide, with several agreements, memorandums of understanding for the collaboration between NTUA and the list of universities that you see here, or these are active agreements. And they have come into life mainly through the interaction between faculty at NTUA and also faculty often of Greek descent in these universities. And we both have an interest for collaborations. Now, a lot of these agreements are active, and they mainly concern the exchange of faculty, I would say, mainly professors between our university and these universities. So I would, from this, I have chosen to talk about 3 use cases which where the collaboration has advanced to greater depth, where we have also joint programs, master and other programs with some universities. So the first that I want to mention is our collaboration with Columbia University. So here the idea is to offer dual degrees to students from NTUA and also from Columbia University through some exchange of students, mainly in the last year of their studies. So for the last 2 semesters of their studies, a student of NTUA goes to Columbia University, or a student from some students from Columbia University come to NTUA. And of course, there is more, the agreement is for all schools, but there is this has gone to much more detail in the case of civil engineering, where the mapping between the courses at this department and the corresponding courses at NTUA has also been performed. One challenge here is that students, the Greek students that go to Columbia University, they have to enroll at Columbia, and they have to pay the tuition for the studies there. And as we all know, the tuition, there is a big imbalance between the tuition fees paid at Columbia and the corresponding fees based at NTUA. They are much more in Columbia, of course. And this is not because studies in Greece do not cost money, but it is because these costs are absorbed by the Greek state. So this big tuition differential is a problem that is the main challenge in having much bigger number of students being exchanged between the 2 universities. Here are the dual degrees programs that we have are in progress, even though the most active ones are those from the civil engineering, as I have said before. And here the idea is that a student from the dual degree means that they are going to the students are going to get the integrated master from the NTUA plus the master's degree from Columbia University after this exchange for the last 2 semesters of their studies. Here, I don't know if you see it. We have also some correspondence shows that there is this collaboration has advanced so that we have complete joint programs in terms of curriculums between the 2 universities. And of course, as I said before, the Greek student has to take 30 Columbia credits, which correspond to 60 European credits in the opposite direction. Now, And the outcome is, as I said before, the Master of Science in Civil Engineering, the engineering mechanics. This is where the programs, the common programs exist, are active right now from Columbia universities, and they get corresponding master's program from NTUA. Another collaboration that we have, so this is at the graduate level. Another collaboration, active collaboration that we have is between NTUA and Michigan State University, which is this collaboration is at the PhD level. So the PhD programs in Greece and also at NTUA and also at the Michigan State University, they last for at least 3 years. So in a dual PhD degree, the duration, the usual duration is a 5-year schedule, where the student at the PhD level goes from NTUA to Michigan State or from Michigan State to NTUA for 2 years. They can take also, there are graduate courses that both students in both directions have to take at the visiting location. So these are mutually recognized. These courses are mutually recognized, and also there is collaboration at of course, at the level of research, which is even more important, with professors from either university corresponding to participating in the PhD committee of the other university. So another case study that I want to mention is the one between NTUA and Purdue University. This is still being in, I would say, in construction, but it is interesting because here we try to do this agreement at all levels. So we want to have at the undergraduate level an agreement at the undergraduate level, also at the master level and also at the PhD level. So this.
Ναι, μωρέ, προσπαθώ να ακούσω, δεν έχω, πρέπει να φύγω μάλλον αν θέλω να ακούσω εδώ.
Yeah.
Θες και άλλο ήχο.
I guess one has to silence, somebody has to silence the microphone. So this is something that is done again through the active involvement of professors from both universities. And so we're doing this agreement at all levels. So this is going to help be used as a pilot for other situations. And there is some funding both at the level of the college, but also when it goes especially to the master's level at the PhD level, there is also funding from the professors that are involved. So as I said, here we have also some agreement at the master level and also at master to PhD level, so graduate research level, and also an agreement at where we get students are going to get a joint master degree from both universities. As I said before, the main challenges that we face is, of course, as I said, the tuition fees. That this is an important challenge, and we have to look at the ways to fund, especially for Greek students going to the US. For US students coming to Greece, we give them very low tuition of the order of just 500 euros per semester. We also help with the dorms. We have some dorms that they can use, and we also help them with some meal card. But so I think that the expenses for US students that are going to come to Greece are pretty low, and they are also being subsidized in the ways I described, but the tuition fees in the opposite direction is something that has to be resolved. Plus, another thing is that I believe that in order to have win-win situations between Greek universities and the US universities, the flows have to be balanced. The flow between incoming and outgoing students have to be balanced. And this is something that we have to make sure that it happens. There are minor problems also related to visas, etc. But I think in the case of Greece and US, these visa problems are minimal. Well, thank you very much. This is the current situation at between NTUA and the US universities. As I said, I think that we have we're just starting. We have 3 pilot cases which we want to explore further so that we can generalize things, but at the same time we want to find solutions to these 2 problems that I described before.
Well, thank you
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Sorry, Diana. Thank you very much,
Yes.
Professor Barbarigos, for this elaborate presentation. But let me ask you something. Did you try to find to explore alternative resources to advance to support these US Greek collaborations?
Like what? Yes. We have, as I said, in some cases, we have found specific resources. As I said before, for example, between Purdue University and NTUA, at the research level, some research grants from Purdue and the research grants from NTUA are going to help with people who visit. Also, the Greek American Council Chamber of is going to help. Okay, so we are in
Very nice.
we are in discussion with them. But I think that if this is to succeed at a great rate, it will have to be done. These 2 are not going to be sufficient.
Great. Wish you good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Barbarigos. And I believe it's a very interesting presentation. I believe there are going to be a lot of questions to ask. So later on, we have the Q&A session. But right now, I would like to please welcome you to join me to welcome our next presenter, Professor Daniel Markovic from the University of Cincinnati. University of Cincinnati is ranked as the #1 public university for co-op and #3 overall. Today, he will discuss the exciting collaboration with their Greek partner institutions. Please give him a warm welcome.
Thank you, Diana. It is truly an honor to be here. I'm here to share the experience we have had in my department, which is the Department of Classics at the University of Cincinnati, recently with exchange, particularly with the National and Kapodistrian University of Athens, but also some other institutions. I think we started actually this initiative about a year ago, where we had a reception at the university level organized by the members of the first Pharos excursion. And my colleague Jack Davis was very instrumental at that time. Our provost and our vice provost organized actually a reception for all Greeks and all Hellenophiles at the university with the goal of stimulating this exchange. But the resources they were giving at that time were kind of time sensitive. And in other words, we had to actually apply for a resource about a year and a half in advance, which was not really maybe good for the idea that we had at the moment of moving faster, right? So we actually used some local resources to start the exchange. And so our experience really speaks to the point made by Susan, and that's if there's a goodwill, resources will follow or will somehow be found. And so what we did is we have several opportunities to fund our students by funding that we control internally as a department. And so we have a scholarship for undergraduate students who excel in language classes, Greek and Latin. And so we were able to send one of our undergraduate students on our scholarship to Athens to take a year at NKUA in their BA program in classics. And that worked really well. The reports we received after the year were excellent. The exposure that we were hoping that the student will get as a part of a Greek university was really very stimulating. This is, I think, a different experience than the one that students get at the college year in Athens, where students are catered in a way that corresponds to some degree to American university climate. This was a fuller exposure, and as I say, it was very intellectually really stimulating for the students. So that was a really good first sign, and so we continued with our graduate students. So we are also in a position to fund our graduate students and to give them some travel money. So one of our graduate students just left 2 weeks ago for Athens and is there now. He's writing his dissertation, so he's already at the last stage, but he's being advised through some of my colleagues at the Department for Philology at NKUA. And so we arranged for him to spend 6 months in Athens and work on his dissertation in the sister library, as it happens, the Blagan Library of the American School, but collaborating with our colleagues from the Department for Philology. So this all came as a result of a visit that a friend and a colleague of mine from NKUA, Mirto Garani, made back in October. And so we also talked about other possibilities for exchange and collaboration, which would use our current resources. And one of the outcomes is a plan for a colloquium, Cincinnati-Athens colloquium in Latin literature, which is my specialty and Mirto's specialty, which will take place in 2026. So 2 years from now, but we are already planning, and we will be able to use our travel resources, travel funding, and some other maybe even external resources to make this colloquium happen. Aside from that, I should say that our archaeology program is very much present in Greece, and we have an ongoing relationship that is long-standing. Maybe at the moment, the most exciting news is the exhibition that my colleague Jack Davis is bringing first to Kalamata. I think it's called the Princes of Pharos. And then from there, it will go to the Getty Museum in Los Angeles. It's basically the finds from the Griffin tomb, and it's, I think, the first really international full display of the findings that will certainly stimulate the exchange, I think, between Greece and United States. And there is another thing I would like to mention, and this is specifically maybe interesting to classicists, but it is a resource that we have that is open actually to everyone who studies classics. We have a fellowship, a Titus, it's called Titus Fellowship for visiting scholars, that brings 9 scholars from anywhere in the world to Cincinnati to use our library for a term. So we have 3 cycles, a fall, spring, and summer cycle. And I just wanted to put the word out that this is a wonderful opportunity. It's open, the fellowship is open to everyone, but applications from Greece are particularly welcome. So I think the deadline for this year has just passed, but please, if you're a classicist or working in a related field, keep this in mind. The information is on our website, and we will be welcoming very warmly applications from Greece. So this is what I wanted to share, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Diana,
I think you're muted.
Thank you very much. And before I welcome the next presenter, I want to kindly remind the next presenters, please let's keep the presentations in time, because to ensure us to stay on the schedule. Thank you. And so now, without further ado, let me introduce the next presentations, which is a very dynamic duo. Welcome Professor Yanis Taras from Ionian University, joining forces with Professor Jason Duell from the University of Kentucky and George Mason University, showcasing the power of global academic collaboration. Thank you.
So thank you very much. It's great to be amongst all of you, many of whom I have met in the past. Let me, first of all, introduce myself. I come from Ionian University, which is a university located, the main campus is located on the island of Corfu in the Ionian Sea, but we're spread throughout different Ionian islands. Before I continue, also allow me to extend the regards of our rector, Professor Andreas Pharos, who couldn't be with us, and also our vice rector, Katerina Kabasi, who also couldn't make it this evening. So I'm representing my university. And of course, with us, we have Jason Dovel, who will be, who's from the University of Kentucky, as you said, but also, and by the way, my colleague Anastasia Shopsi, she couldn't, she had a last-minute family emergency, so she couldn't make it. And with us from George Mason University, we also have Professor Anastasia Quinsandas, who was able to make it. So I'm going to go over a few things briefly, and then I'm going to invite my colleagues to continue. I will start with our cooperation. Let me just mention we have other cooperations that we've had the chance to talk about in the previous Pharos event. So I'm not going to focus on those cooperations, which were the University of Alabama, the University of Texas, and Johns Hopkins. But today we're here to focus on the University of Kentucky and George Mason University and our collaborations with these two universities. So regarding the University of Kentucky, one of the things that was done is 8 faculty members of the School of Music of the University of Kentucky visited the Department of Music Studies at Ionian University during the week of 16th to 20th of October in 2023. So just literally a couple months ago. And this visit was part of the bilateral cooperation that our two universities have. And in turn, actually next month, in the month of March, 5 faculty members of our music department will be able to visit the School of Music of the University of Kentucky. Now, 2 of these members will be able to visit the University of Kentucky on Erasmus funding. So we're able to put into use the funding that we have available through the Erasmus Plus scheme, and 3 other members will be funded by a grant from the University of Kentucky. And during the visit, while our colleagues from the University of Kentucky were here, they were able to deliver some very interesting lectures. And at the end, there was also a very nice gala recital at Ionian University that was delivered by the faculty members of Kentucky University. So it was work and fun at the same time at Ionian University. And I would like to invite my colleague Jason if he would like to add something.
Hi, greetings everyone. I teach at the University of Kentucky and I'm a trumpet player by trade. And so it's been great to visit Corfu. I've been to Corfu now about 4 or 5 times, playing concerts. This kind of got started in 2021 when I spent a sabbatical in Greece and met some people in Corfu. I have since that time taken my students for a concert last summer to Corfu for the June 21st National Day for Music. And at that time, we got the wheels spinning on this bilateral agreement. This week, we signed a memorandum of understanding with Ionian University, so everything is sort of official now, and we're making the next steps, both in preparation for our Greek friends visiting in March, but also looking toward next year. I guess maybe the most important thing to add for us is it was good timing here at the University of Kentucky because our university mission is very global minded now, and our provost has made funding available for these kinds of international partnerships. So most of the money that funded the 8 UK faculty to go to Greece and the faculty to bring 3 of the 5 Ionian faculty to Kentucky next month is through a new program called UK Inspire, which is funding to get these kinds of partnerships going. And now we're in the stages of exploring how to get additional funding to do other things. We're talking about things like maybe a recording project with students from both universities, maybe exchanges as has been described in other programs where students could do part of their degree at UK and part of their degree at Ionian and those sorts of things. But for the moment, we've made some music together and we've done some lessons together, and we're looking forward to receiving 5 faculty here in about 5 weeks in Lexington.
Great. So I guess at the University of Kentucky, you've already put into practice what Susan mentioned earlier, some of the opportunities for funding. And now quickly moving on to our collaboration with George Mason University. This is a collaboration that I am personally involved in. This is a collaboration between the College of Education and Human Development and the Department of Foreign Languages Translation and Interpreting, which I also happen to be the chair of for the time being. So we started off with a bilateral agreement. So there is an official agreement in place between our 2 institutions. I had the privilege of visiting George Mason in June 2022 through an Erasmus Plus grant that I got. And during my stay at George Mason University, I was given the opportunity to deliver lectures at the master's and PhD level. So I had the chance to meet students at the master's and PhD level. I had discussions with faculty members and admin staff. This was a very, very not only inspiring, but a very constructive week that I was able to have at George Mason campus. Then we also had, we collaboratively offered, so faculty from George Mason University and from our side, we had a 2-day virtual webinar bringing together doctoral students of both universities, which was quite a successful event. And then we also had the pleasure of hosting Professor Anastasia Samara, who presented the lecture entitled Innovative Pedagogical Inquiries Using Self-Study Research to Inform Practice. And this was open, was open to students and faculty, and it was a very successful event. The next step is now we're in the process of planning a summer study abroad program for students to visit Ionian University. So students from George Mason University will have the opportunity to visit us, and we're truly hoping that this will go through. So we're at the preparation stages for the time being. Finishing off with my part, looking at opportunities. There's lots of opportunities regarding student and staff exchanges. exchanging of know-how. So for example, we've had the opportunity to discuss curriculum development and implementation, course design, etc. And it's also, it has been and it will be a great opportunity for both faculty and students to, further develop their intercultural communication competence skills. This is my area of expertise, so I'm always very keen on, trying to enhance that, especially when it comes to our students. The main challenge, as it was already discussed, is funding. I think that's always the big issue because, we always have the intent to work hard and make things happen, but sometimes one of the main obstacles is funding. What we've been able to do so far, Jason talked about what the University of Kentucky has done, and on our part, basically we try to use various schemes such as the Erasmus Plus program. Through the International Mobility Scheme. So we've had an extra grant for this year to also offer the opportunity of a faculty member from George Mason to visit us. So we'll be taking advantage of that scheme. And then one of us will be able to visit George Mason again. And other available grants that George Mason has that will allow, will give opportunities to other faculty members and perhaps students to visit us in the future. And before closing, I'd like to invite my dear colleague and friend Anastasia Gichandas to, if she wants to add something.
Thank you, Yanis, and hello everyone. My name is Anastasia Gichandas. As Ioannis mentioned, my colleagues and I here at George Mason University are very excited that we had the chance to collaborate with Ionian University as we share the same vision for the future. There is a lot we can learn from each other, and we are looking forward to continuing our work together. We are facing similar challenges as other colleagues mentioned earlier with the implementation process of the initiatives that Ioannis described. And it's certainly very helpful to hear about some strategies from others that they have proposed to use to overcome these challenges. So thank you for the opportunity.
Great. Thank you, Anastasia, and I'm also done. So thank you once again for this opportunity to share some of our ideas.
Thank you very much, Professor Haras. Ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, our final joint presentation of the day will be delivered by Professor Kostas Patridis from Hellenic Mediterranean University, accompanied by representatives from your College of Pennsylvania. They will share with us their expertise, their opportunities, and challenges about their international collaborations. That's welcome.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Always it's very difficult to follow Ioannis Karas because I love his accent and my accent is very Greek. So I will try to keep the time, but I'm not going to be able to have this wonderful accent as Ioannis. So I would like to share my screen in order to present what we have done together with the York College, because I thought that this was the main topic, like, how to secure funding in order to keep.
I think we have a problem. Maybe his connection is weak.
Yes, I think he's stuck.
Okay, Kostas is stuck. Hopefully he'll come back, but I'll just jump in and
Great.
I love.
Great. Thank you.
Are you there now? No. Okay. This partnership has been terrific, and for your college, I can just say that this was the first time that we looked at strategic partnerships, and so I want to thank the IAPP and Susan and all of her guidance along this. And this started kind of during the pandemic when we first started kind of looking at partnerships. And Kostas and I met and we're kind of like two peas in a pod. We're both faculty members, very different disciplines, but we also are both working towards internationalizing our campuses. And oh, I see he's coming back now. And we started with a trip by one of our programs over to visit Hellenic Mediterranean University, where we brought a group of students and taught some design thinking workshops with both students and faculty. And that turned out to be a huge success, especially once we got the students together. Once we got the students interacting with one another, we could just sit back and kind of watch the magic happen, as you all know. And then the second year, Kostas does a wonderful job with the Erasmus program of hosting an international conference at Hellenic Mediterranean. And last year I mixed up the dates and we ended up coming after the fact. But this year we're actually coming over during his third annual international conference, where he'll be bringing students from all across Europe. I think he's got over 100 international students coming, and our students will be coming to join him, both with the design thinking workshops, but also a lot of other workshops there as well. Kostas, are you back now?
I'm back.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm back. I based on hotels, Wi-Fi, because I just arrived in León in Spain, that we have the European meeting about virtual exchange and good policies. So I can go on and I can continue. Thank you, David, for the backup. This is the collaboration and team spirit. As David has mentioned, we started, this collaboration with your college back in 2020, starting with a few, meetings, Zoom meetings, how we can start this collaboration. We continue with co-sharing some courses in photonics, in soft skills development. We continue with a visit of your college in the last 3 years of a group of students, about 20 per time, per cycle, with a backup of 3 academics. And what we would like to do is like to integrate your college through our European network, not only within Europe, but also with Israel, in order to do joint things. And as David has mentioned, this year, from the 27th of May until the 31st of May, we have 400 participants and 100 students that we're going to integrate 2 BIPs together with York regarding the students' engagement. And the topics are going to be modern pedagogies, including coils and virtual exchanges and technologies regarding the teaching and education in higher education. As a fruitful result of this, let's say, story that, as I said at the very beginning, before my internet collapsed, it is like, this is not the only story. Same stories we would like to follow with the other close US collaborators that we have. I mentioned successful stories with Rutgers, and we would like to follow the same path with South Alabama. We have secured, funding from the Erasmus in a similar way that the Ioannis Karas in Ioannina and University and other Greek universities, they have already done, in order to fund 4 mobilities of staff from the US to Greece, in Crete, where do we locate, and from Crete to the US, in order to continue our planning. And with David, we do it, an extra step, the extra mile, as we used to say. And we have successfully submitted a scholarship in residence Fulbright grant. It has been approved by the Institute of International Education. I completed, this first step of bureaucracy with Fulbright Greece, and we are looking forward, to visit and working together as our students and as academics in the US for the semester 2025. This is what we have to say. I will say, even though that we are small universities, I think the limit is the sky, or the sky is the limit. Always I'm doing mistake, this kind of phrase. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much to Professor Patridis, and thank you very much to Professor Dave Fife from your College of Pennsylvania. And thank you all for all these dynamic and interesting presentations, and talk about opportunities and also challenges, so we can work together better and move forward faster and further. So thank you all. And now, before we transition into the Q&A session, which will be coordinated by Ms. Artemis Zenetu, sorry, the Executive Director of Fulbright Greece. I have an important announcement to make. In our ongoing commitment to delivering valuable and enriching experiences for this program, we would like to invite you all to take part in a brief poll. It will only take you a few minutes, but this poll will help us to plan and organize our next virtual event to better serve your needs and interests. Once again, thank you for your active participation and the continued support. George, please, thank you.
I hope we don't create a polarized political environment here.
Which we can remedy by offering several webinars.
Exactly.
While we're waiting for the results, I will invite you to write some of your questions. I've been following, but I have not seen really specific questions. I would sort of like have the privilege of asking some questions myself as I take the role of the moderator, but please do that. I think it's a wonderful opportunity, and we know that most of us have engagement, so we promise that by 7:30 we will be concluding. So we have about 15 minutes to be able to have a fruitful exchange. And also take into account that we have our presenters with us and we can ask them specific questions.
And before the virtual discussions, I have two points regarding the SIG Study in Greece forthcoming events related to the US-Greek academic collaboration. First, on Tuesday, February 20th, we organize an info session on our participation in the NAFSA 2024 in New Orleans. We're going to provide useful advice, information actually about the program and our stay in New Orleans. And second, on Friday, March 1st, we have the privilege to host a hybrid event in collaboration with the US Embassy in Athens, with an exceptional keynote speaker from the US, Dr. Jennifer Evanuik, who will be focusing on issues related to internationalization, global outreach, including the participation in NAFSA annual conference and its benefits. And before the discussion, I would also like to invite Professor Pavloudakis from University of Western Macedonia to say a few words about his collaboration with the University of Kentucky. But please, Professor, focus on the event's topic, funding mechanisms and resources to advance this collaboration. I think that we can start. George, what do you think?
The poll has... we have the results.
We're still waiting? No.
No,
okay.
Everyone has answered.
So we're going to present the results after the discussion. Okay. Sure. So, Professor Pavloudakis.
Thank you very much. Good morning and good evening. Share my screen just for a couple of minutes. So, I have to say a few words about the collaboration between the Mineral Resources Engineering Department of the University of Western Macedonia and the Department of Mining Engineering of the University of Kentucky. You can see some figures that compare the two departments.
Sorry, would you mind making it full screen, your presentation?
I have I have done this full screen, but
No. It's full screen, the presentation itself, not the sidebar.
sorry, I will try another way.
Okay.
Is it okay now?
Yeah, now it's okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. So you can see the main figures that describe the two departments. There is a similarity concerning the number of faculties, but point out the difference of the number of students in Greece and in the US. And I have also to say that this is not, these figures are not representative now for our department, because after the new law that regulates the entry students from the high school to the universities, the number of students that we have every year is less than 20. So in a few years, this number will, for our department, will be equal to the number of the University of Kentucky. And this is actually, I will go directly to this, one of the fields of cooperations, how we can attracting undergraduate students. We have to take some measures to increase the number of students, because there is now a problem to meet the demand for engineers from the mining companies. And as we discussed in Germany, Australia, this is a global problem, we can say. Mining engineering is not an attractive field for studying, and then also the field of collaboration includes research, exchange of ideas about the curriculum, and the implementation of new ideas regarding education based on socialization and inclusion. Did the contact with the University of Kentucky come about? It is because of Professor Agutandis. I know Professor Agutandis more than 25 years. I attended 3 courses when 3 of his courses when he was professor in the University of Crete, the Technical University of Crete, and then he was my supervisor in my thesis and the PhD. So as Mrs. Sutton said, the more you know a partner, the stronger the partnership is.
Thank you,
And
Professor.
I think,
Sorry for interrupting, Professor Pavlidakis. We only have 10 minutes. Can you please accelerate and focus on the resources?
The resources. The resources available in our department is very limited, so the expenses for traveling and accommodation were covered by the University of Kentucky. And this is a real problem that we have to solve, and this is critical for the future collaboration. And I think we'll have to discuss about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions? No?
Okay, I think we briefly saw the results before, and if I'm not mistaken, funding mechanisms and resources along with the summer short courses are among our top leaders in that poll. First of all, I wanted to thank all of our presenters and to say that all these examples were incredibly useful. Our goal through the IAPP team is to create a community, and I think we're gradually building towards that direction, to be able to exchange ideas, share concerns, resources, avoid reinventing the wheel. And I would say, as Susan Sutton mentioned in her presentation, it's a holistic approach. Partnerships need to be sustainable. We know that. It's important to engage the entire institution, but also to look at interdepartmental and interdisciplinary relationships. Time and again, we heard from our presenters the importance of having friends. Having friends or philhellenes that we've seen in many, many instances of, I'm talking also on the other side of the Atlantic now, our US partners, or having sort of like American scholars that have sort of like engaged long-term relationships with our country. I can speak for Fulbright and beyond, and having seen individuals that have visited the country several decades ago, and they're there and they have been a great resource just to start talking. And going back to Susan, we can start, I think it's important to, yes, the sky is the limit, as one of our presenters, I think Mr. Petridis mentioned, but we can start small as well, and we can get a lot of mileage through that. Many times I sort of like use an analogy of one of my favorite paintings that is at the Department Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, Paul Gauguin, with the title, "Where Do We Come From? What Are We? Where Are We Going?" It's important to look exactly at what it is that we're trying to achieve and how we can achieve that. And another important factor is to keep talking. We're realizing many times how even within our own organizations and institutions, someone may be facing similar issues or having moved a step forward, and we're not aware about it. So reaching out to as many people and sharing ideas about a program is important. My role here representing Fulbright is not to give you the answer that Fulbright is a funding mechanism and support all. We've heard from some of our presenters that Fulbright has indeed contributed and assisted through its short-term and longer-term scholarship programs to get things started, but certainly we're not a solution always. It's important to look within our own institutions to find different grants and scholarships. We can say no grant left, so like unexamined or unturned. You never know what, something that may not work for you may work for someone else. So I think it's a matter of us thinking creatively and being resourceful many, many times, and realizing that the solution can be also in-kind donations and within our own community. Funding is important, but it's not everything. And I'm turning in to look at our questions to see if there's anything that I missed. Hello. Sorry.
Question from Rania Chidiridou from Agricultural University of Athens. Artemis, do you want?
Okay, I'm seeing here. I would like to ask anyone concerned whether there is a revised edition of the Guide to EU Funding 2023 edition drawn up by the Members' Research Service of the European Parliamentary Research Service. It has been an extremely useful guide to faculty staff as it describes in detail the funding resources divided into various disciplines. I do not know if anyone from our participants has an answer. I do not have an answer, but we can certainly look into that and share it at a later time.
Anyone who knows? No, I cannot see. No.
If I may, I would like to go back to what Professor Markovic from Cincinnati mentioned earlier about this wonderful exhibit, and indeed Jack Davis has been a wonderful friend to Greece and to Fulbright, has served as in the board of directors. You mentioned the exhibition that is going to be traveling in the United States, and like, again, another Philelin, the new director of the Getty Museum, Catherine Fleming, has been also involved in a program some years ago, the Greek Diaspora Fellowship Program, which was supported by the Niarchos Foundation, and it was administered with IAE and Fulbright, and brought academics of Greek descent that are teaching in the United States, and then it expanded to many Greek diasporic countries to come and work in Greece. So I would say work in Greece, I'm sorry, for a short period of time to collaborate with Greek colleagues in educational institutions of higher learning and research institutes. Important is to do a mapping, again, to see, so like even professors that relate to Greece or are of Greek descent that could be of assistance to your projects.
Absolutely, and our department is also very international, and we have Greek colleagues in it, and so that always helps. And I'm pretty sure in every American institution, it's very easy to find friends among Greeks, and it's always stimulating. Thank
and
you.
also associations like the Modern Greek Studies Association, MGSA, is another great resource. So I think perhaps what we can also do as a result, of that webinar is to see whether we can find some additional resources that we can share with those that participate today, so like share it even before the next webinar comes.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I fully agree. Mm-hmm.
I do not see whether any other questions, and I do not know whether there are any specific questions. Oh, here we are.
Rania.
Okay. I would like, if I may, to ask a question actually for the program with NTUA, with the University of Michigan. I do not know if the vice rector is still Mr. Varvarigos.
Yeah,
thank you for presenting all the different partnerships. The program that you mentioned for PhD candidates, which is provides for 2 years, has this started already? Is it two-way, or is it just from Greece to the US?
I think 6 Greek students from the electrical engineering department have already gone to Michigan, and the 2 from Michigan State University have come to Greece. So yes, it has started. I forgot to mention also that we have there is Lemos Foundation, which has helped with the expenses there. Plus the other stuff, we got also support from, as I said, from the professors themselves through NSF or DARPA projects on the US side and through EU-funded projects here. So, but yes, it has happened with a total of 8 students. Yes, total.
Wonderful.
In both directions.
You kind of highlighted the need also for PhD students to be able to have even short periods outside the country, and also inviting PhD candidates to Greece. And I would like to mention that since last year, the State Scholarship Foundation, EKI, and Fulbright are offering an additional 9 scholarships to PhD students, 4 Americans to come to Greece for a period of 6 months, and 5 Greeks going to the US for a period of 6 months. And Fulbright has already been offering a similar program. So this raises the number of these short-term options. And what we've witnessed in the last 6 years that Fulbright is running this program is that the multiplier effect. It really enhances collaboration between, in addition to the student that actually goes there, it enhances collaboration between both institutions. So it's worth looking more into that. And although your program is for 2 years, even the seed program for 6 months can also contribute in that direction.
Yes, yes, definitely.
And
Important thing is,
sorry,
to create additional, for me, it is to create additional capabilities. I mean, there is a natural, very natural exchange of between US universities and the Greek universities. For example, 200 or 300 students every year from NTUA, alumni from NTUA go to the US for PhD studies, okay? Or a lot of US professors come to Greece during conferences or during Christmas. For example, during Christmas in my department only, we had about 10 professors from US universities give talks, etc. So for me, the important thing is not to have some, unstructured, let's say, exchanges, but the important thing is to create joint programs where we can use either the strength of both of us, we're both strong in some specific field, and we can, and we're trying that with Purdue University on AI, on artificial intelligence, or where we're complementary, one has a strength and one has a weakness, so that we can create a joint program. I think the success is going to be in the joint programs that we
absolutely.
organize.
These
Not just the
exchange programs or the short-term programs are to plant the seeds many times that lead to joint partnerships. And we've
Yes.
seen that also over the years with like study abroad programs and how they have started relationships and programs that lead to joint degrees. So I think every step works towards that direction.
Yeah, I agree fully.
And I was also very pleased to see our colleagues from George Mason University and Anastasia Kitsanta, that we've worked on many different projects together, and to say that 14 years later, since we had sent a number of about 19 Greek secondary school educators from public schools for a professional development program at George Mason University, there's still a great team and working on a number of train the trainers programs. So these types of exchanges really lead to long-term partnerships. And it was good to see you with the Ionian University. It's an institution we have worked closely again over the years and have contributed to the music studies department, the jazz in particular. So it's lovely to see how we're all basically interconnected.
Think big, start small. This is
exactly
our right, Artemis?
I think yes. And I mean, always ask. The worst that can happen is that the other person does not know. But then you're still ahead, a step forward. I think there are no further questions unless there's like a last minute intervention that anyone would like to jump in. Other than that, I would like to thank everyone for their participation and study in Greece, for hosting us. And I think it's important to continue this community and see how we can all help each other with a goal of enhancing academic and cultural exchanges and partnerships between our two countries. And I know actually in the next 2 days, the Minister of Foreign Affairs will be in the United States as part of the US-Greece Strategic Dialogue, meeting with Secretary Blinken. And we know that education will be one of the things that they will be addressing.
Thank you very much, Artemis, for this insightful and fruitful contribution. Your advice and consulting and experience and expertise is much appreciated. So I would like to thank all our speakers and presenters for this wonderful and meaningful gathering. And many thanks to all of you, colleagues, partners, and friends from the US and Greece, for your participation, cooperation, engagement, and dedication to the International Academic Partnership Program Greece. And of course, we are looking forward to seeing you at the next Study in Greece events. Many thanks, and have a nice day or night. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.